on already. He's Mr. Auwal Rafsanjani. He is the head of Transparency International here in Nigeria. You will recall that just a few days ago, the rankings came out and it showed us that Nigeria moved 5 places up from 150 to 145 on the list. Mr. Rafsanjani, good morning and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So we're talking about Nigeria's latest ranking on the corruption index. Is this something we should celebrate? 5 places up.
Well, thank you very much. I think it is important to also clarify um, the the score which Nigeria actually got improvement with 1 point. With 1 point is what is actually the most important thing. If you look at what we had last year, we had 24, and this year we have 25. That is the one that is actually more important. Uh, those other ones are, function of a country or some country that have actually either improved or decreased, and their position shifts. And therefore, what we had actually should be talking about is the one score, not really the issue of the 5 places. The 5 places is just a function of some countries moving either off or going down, and the country will now, get that position. So, but all the same, Nigeria, given the fact that we have actually made this point, uh, is something that we should actually encourage government to do more in order to block leakages, in order to deal with issues of bribery, diversion of public funds, use of public office for private gains, as well as also nepotism in civil service, as well as state capture, which we have seen, clearly happening in Nigeria. And some of the reason why Nigeria actually even got that one, score is the country ability to establish beneficial ownership register. What we've been talking about, how some, public official using companies, sometimes even directly under their name, to be siphoning or to be giving themselves contracts without due process, or to even be giving themselves tax holiday. So this is one reason why we believe that the enactment of the beneficial ownership, what Nigeria made commitment in 2016 anti-corruption conference in London to enact. We congratulated the government and we supported government, in the process of establishing the beneficial ownership register, where we will be able to know how many, or who are involved in the particular companies, which clearly, many of those companies have not been, responsible, or responsible for paying taxes. Sometimes they get tax holiday, tax waiver, but there's nothing that is coming to Nigeria. Some public officials actually do have oil companies that they also do not want to pay tax. Then, of course, another thing that made Nigeria to move from 24 to 25 is, of course, the fact that anti-corruption agencies have been doing a lot in terms of recovering, in terms of arrest, and the recovery of assets both at home and abroad. That is a very commendable effort by the anti-corruption agencies, who are actually helping to make sure that funds that have been diverted by public officials are actually retrieved. We also just recently hear how in some just few, public official, ICPC were able to recover a lot of houses from them, from civil servants. Just to civil servants, they have, over 100 houses in Abuja, and these are, of course, proceeds of corruption. So we commended anti-corruption agencies for this effort, and that signal the intention of government to really go after those who are looting the nation. Of course, the vibrancy of the media and civil society space in Nigeria, despite attempts to,
Um,
bundle them, they has also been able to
receiver,
help to give
go the
the
family
country,
one.
space and opportunity to be able to advocate and do a lot in terms of effort. to fight corruption. Their advocacy to advocate for legal framework and implementation of those legal frameworks that we have is also what has given us this thing. But however, we have a lot of work to do. For example, judicial corruption is one of the major stumbling blocks that we have in this country for Nigerians to realize their justice. Just access to justice, especially at local level, is very difficult. The magistrate, the corruption in the courts, lower courts, and even virtually every court is also of a worry to Nigerians. And of course, the electoral tribunal judgment that you have seen, where you have so many contradiction and so many allegations of exchanging money, is one thing that we really need to do a lot in terms of restoring confidence of Nigerians to the judicial system in the country and administrative justice system generally in Nigeria. Again, we need to also make sure that our electoral process is not, the kind of electoral process that will allow use of dirty money to capture power for personal interest, where a situation where people will win election genuinely, and because of money, because of intimidation, because of harassment, because of use of incumbency, you will now deprive winners from having their victory. This has to be improved. This has to be changed, and of course, you see that. The corruption in the security sector is a major threat, and that will continue to undermine our progress in the anti-corruption.
Okay.
We've seen a lot of corruption happening in the security sector, which definitely has a bigger repercussion, and therefore we are urging the Nigerian government to do everything possible to ensure that the security sector reforms are carried out in order to ensure the Nigerian being safe and protected. Also, importantly, many policies or legal framework that we have that will help to fight corruption are not being respected. We have public procurement law. Government is not doing much to comply with the public procurement law. We have freedom of information law that is not also being implemented or comply with, and several other areas that require seriousness. We need to support EFCC, ICPC, Code of Conduct to be able to do their work. If you look at their budget, very shameful. How do you expect anti-corruption, organization like EFCC, ICPC, Code of Conduct to do their work when you are
Okay.
starving them from the funds? In fact, in some instances, some legislators, are being alleged to be demanding for, money. You can imagine, to pass their budget. This National Assembly must come clean from it. It must come out to ensure that it send out a clear message to Nigerians that their members are not collecting bribe before they pass their budget. Otherwise, if they continue with that kind of impression by Nigerians, it will also undermine the integrity of the National Assembly, and therefore we can never see any good rating if we continue to be doing that. So,
Okay,
of
Mr.
course, again,
Rafans, just hold on a bit. You said a lot, and let me interrogate you further. You said it's not something that we should really cheer on because Nigeria just got 1 point, and as a result, we moved up to 145 because some other countries were either frozen or some other countries moved up. But you alluded to the fact that some things have actually also been done. Let's take a look at in the past few years. I also noticed that Nigeria's ranking in the past few years has been between the numbers of 24 and 28, perhaps in the last 10 years. Why has this been like this? We've had the worst corruption ranking, at least in the last 10 years. And it's really ironic for the fact that the former president, President Buhari, was voted in. He's seen as a corruption czar, as it were. People voted him in that he should tackle corruption, and yet Nigeria scores hovered around 24 to 28 in the last 10 years. Why is this way? And with this index that we have right now at 25 over 100, what do you think could be done moving forward? That's one. Number two, you talked about the EFCC and the ICPC, that their budgets are not enough. How do you expect them to fight corruption? can we also ask the question that from the budgets that they've had in the past few years, what have they done in terms of the fight against corruption? Nigeria is one place in the world where you have a lot of political office holders, that seemingly live very lavish lifestyle as against the majority of Nigerians, the majority of us. How do you think that the anti-corruption anti-corruption agencies, the ICPC, the EFCC, even the, what's it called, the Bureau, the Code of Conduct Bureau, as it were, because these officers are also supposed to declare their assets and all of that. How do you think that they should move, considering that we have a new sheriff in town, who is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Let me start with this last question. I guarantee you that if there's no effort coming from EFCC, ICPC, at least these two organizations, the overwhelming corruption incidences you will see in this country, it will really run us worse than where we are today. But despite the challenges of lack of proper funding, despite the challenges of political interference, despite the fact that they are facing intimidation and harassment, they are doing their best within the context of what they find themselves in the country. And if you take away the effort they are making, the kind of routine, the kind of corruption that you will see in Nigeria, you will actually, be wondering whether, some people really happier of God, or they are actually even, really interested in their country, given the consequences of corruption, which lead to where we are in terms of putting Nigerians into security risks, because as a result of this corruption, money that are budgeted for arms and ammunition are being stolen by public officials. And you can see that how they have been detecting and getting this money from these people and preventing it. ICPC have done a lot in terms of preventing even, from corruption. They collected a lot of money from National Assembly in the name of constituency project, either from the contractors or from the National Assembly members by themselves. And they collected a lot of money and properties from civil servants. I tell you, the EFCC, ICPC are doing their best, despite the political control, political
If they've collected a
interferences,
lot of
and
monies
stagnation.
and hold on, Mr. Rafsanjani, sorry for butting in. If they've collected a lot of money from civil servants and the politicians and the houses and co, where are they plowing it into? Because of course you are the head of Transparency International here in Nigeria, so I suppose that you engage with the anti-corruption agencies regularly. That is why you're telling me this. But when they confiscate those properties and monies, what is the report they give to you and your colleagues too? Is it a matter of just confiscating and collecting monies from them? Do they take it back to the state coffers? What has been done concerning that? Then secondly, is that even the anti-corruption officials too have also been allegedly, pointed fingers at that some of these corruption cases, some of their officials also take monies and take kickbacks to be able to put the files under the table again. It's just a few ones that
First and
we get to hear.
So first and foremost, before the advocacy from civil society to have procedure of crime law act, there has been some a kind of concern that we expressed because several agencies are recovering assets, locally and domestically, and there's nowhere you can have a database of where all these assets have been recovered. However, with the enactment of the procedure of crime bill law, which we have in place, we are now beginning to make sure that assets are recovered, and there's supposed to be a central data where Nigerians will actually see exactly what had been recovered by EFCC, ICPC, Code of Conduct, Police, Custom, NLD, and the rest of the agencies that are recovering assets in the country. So we are still advocating and trying to make sure that we have a central unified data where we can have evidence on what had been collected and what had been used, for. So that's one, advocacy we are still pushing, we are still making. The second challenge that you know very well, the political influence. EFCC, ICPC will do the prosecution, will even get judgment to jail some people, and some people will use their political power to release them. They will pardon them after spending huge amount of money, time, energy, and risking their life, then they will just say they have pardoned them. This is definitely frustrating and is not good. Thirdly, the politicians are not interested to ensure that the EFCC, ICPC, they have enabling resources to do the work they are doing. And that is why I look at their budget. Even the budget of 2024, look at how much they allocated to EFCC, to ICPC, to Code of Conduct. Virtually, very insignificant. And on top of it, some of the crazy people will still want to go and start, demanding for payable from those people. And I am calling on EFCC, ICPC, anybody from the National Assembly or from the executive that will come to ask them for any money or anything, they should actually arrest that kind of person, no matter how powerful that person is. This is the only way to rescue the anti-corruption agencies, to make them independent, to also stop all this extortion that some people are using their position to do. If we do not show example, we will not be able to go anywhere. Then the other thing that I also want to mention, which you mentioned, why is it that Nigeria in the last 10 years has consistently not been able to move forward, despite the fact that Buhari was seen to be, somebody who want to support anti-corruption or who want to fight corruption. Sadly, we did everything possible to support the Buhari administration government to ensure that we give them advice on what to do in order to mitigate and improve Nigerian, corruption situation. You see a lot of money stolen, and Nigerians will speak about the people who are doing this. Buhari will not say anything. No investigation, nothing. You would see that some people will be jailed and Buhari will give them pardon. You will see that legal instrument that will help to fight corruption will not be implemented. Again, Buhari refused to even constitute people of integrity that can help him, implement anti-corruption agenda in Nigeria. And even at the state level, because when we are talking about Nigeria, we are not just looking at federal level. We are looking at state and federal as well as local government. Now, as a ruling party with overwhelming majority in both National Assembly and the state governors, we expected Buhari administration to sit down and dialogue with the governors, local government chairmen, to forge a common agenda to fight corruption. That did not happen, despite the fact that we advocated for having a national strategy to fight corruption. That document was undermined. It was not worked on. Even when assets are recovered, you could see that those assets are not accounted for. So this is the reason why Nigeria has consistently not been able to make progress. You see, government say that they have the list of people who are financing terrorism, who are doing illicit financial flow. Nobody will be arrested, nobody will be prosecuted. So with such kind of impunity, with such kind of judicial also corruption, there's no way you can expect the country rating to change. Everybody knows that bribery is like a daily affairs. If you go to police station, you are likely going to be extorted. If you go to immigration for passport, you are likely going to be extorted. If you go to renew the driving license or to get driving license, you are likely going to be extorted. If you go and go to hospital, you are likely to be extorted. If you go and look for admission in the university or a tertiary institution, you are likely going to be extorted. So corruption is everywhere. Of
Okay,
course,
so the
even
next
job,
question,
is sell, it's for
yes,
sale.
Mr. Rafsanjani, I agree with you and some of the things you've said. The next question will really be, why is corruption thriving in the country? I also, sympathize with the anti-corruption agencies like the EFCC. I know that for this year, their budget is about 76 billion naira, but I think it was cut to 43 billion naira. And the FCC chair was speaking a few weeks ago in terms of upping that budget. ICPC also facing the same thing. So I sympathize with them. But the question also is, from what you're saying, why is corruption thriving in the country? Is it economically related? Because even everywhere, in almost every sphere, people are looking for kickbacks. People that are supposed to be doing even their daily jobs, if you don't give them a kickback, they don't get to do it. So why is corruption thriving in Nigeria? What are the foundational issues and why should we address it? How should we address it? This is a country now that has a minimum wage of 33,000 naira, even though the president has spoken of a wage award, but not everybody across board would even be able to pay that. Inflation is rising on a daily basis. Why do we still have, isn't that a precursor really to corruption? And how do you think we can address it very quickly?
Let me also assure you that the workforce in Nigeria, uh, especially from the government, is so insignificant compared to the number of people who are either self-employed or they are being employed by the private sector. So there is something that government is not doing right. When you are not leading by example, you are likely going to open this window. Now, as elected official or appointed official, you are moving with all sort of flamboyant way of life. This is also increasing electoral violence because everyone knows that once you get in there, you are likely going to buy houses in Abuja, in Dubai, in London, in Paris, and therefore they will do everything possible to get in there, use dating money, use godfathers to get them there. And when they came in, there will not be any governance. So this is one problem we have. So we need to sanitize our electoral system to make sure that there should not be reward for looters. There should not be reward for people who have used violence to get in there. Once you are able to improve that and make sure that you have people of incapable, in fact, people with the character, good character, people with fear of God, people with established track record of service, if you have them there, you are likely going to reduce the tendency of corruption in public sector. Secondly, if Nigerians know that there's a consequences of you doing things, irrespective of your affiliation to the ruling party or to anything, and all this, sentiment of ethnic, religious, geographical, interests that people are pushing to protect crooks and criminals who have destroyed everybody in the country. If Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, understand that there's no need to be backing people on the basis of ethnic, religious, geographical solidarity, I think we will also do something to reduce, the incidences of corruption. Of course, you need to improve the welfare of people who are protecting the citizens. The police continues to suffer humiliation. You know where they are living their barracks sometimes if you go is smelling. No funding for them. There is no funding for them to even go and detect crimes. If you look at the budget of police, it's nothing to write about. But look at the budget of military. We are not in external war, but look at the money that is being allocated every day to military because they have refused to fund other security, internal security that would have helped deal with insecurity in the country. Because the military should not be operating everywhere in Nigeria. The police should have been empowered, should have been equipped to be able to do this because they are more better in the position to do that. But of course, because of mispriority of security sector, allocation of resources, even the office of the National Security Advisor, his budget is bigger than even the the police. Look at how ridiculous this thing is. So there's no way you will continue to starve the people who are supposed to guide you, that you don't expect them to also misbehave. So police and other security personnel salary is nothing to write about. And we need to ensure that there's a justice in terms of promotion, for the people that are supposed to be promoted. Again, if you are going to reduce these instances, you cannot have legal framework for decoration. Legal framework are meant to be implemented and complied with. In Nigeria, despite the laudable initiatives that we have to have freedom of information, to have public procurement law, to have fiscal responsibility law, to have quite a number of laws that if we comply with and implemented, you will have drastically reduced instances of corruption. Again, if you are actually helping to ensure that there's a sanction for people who have break the law, it would have also helped to reduce the sanction. And I think it is important that we embark on this preventive measure. The illicit financial outflow in this country is so ridiculous. In fact, ECOWAS report says that Nigerian financial institutions are being used to finance terrorism. You had what EFCC chair just say last week. Some so-called religious groups, they are actually and harboring, terrorism financing in Nigeria. Yet government is not able to go after them. So if you continue to do all this, pretending and all this cover up, there's no way you can defeat corruption and corrupt people. And again, if you are rewarding political appointment for corrupt people who are under either investigation or who have clear record of corrupting looters, and you are awarding appointment for them, I think you are joking. You cannot say that you want to fight corruption. So to conclude on this is to say that fight against corruption is a collective responsibility that we must all of us be able to buy in and knows that to contribute towards eradicating or reducing corruption will have significant influence in our social sector, which includes education, healthcare system, infrastructure, and other social well-being in the society. So it is important because you think that you have a rented protection for 4 years or 8 years, and you will continue to ignore the importance of putting system that can help, improve productivity, ensure, reward for, good services, ensure that you motivate and cultivate Nigerians to own even the fight itself, then definitely we will not be able to make the necessary progress. We have a
Okay.
lot of challenges, and I believe that if the government is serious and committed, it's not just the federal government work, it is also state and local government. So we need to have, everyone on table to ensure that we save our country from disgrace, from embarrassment. You carry Nigerian passport traveling to ordinary neighboring countries, they are looking at you as a Yahoo, as a criminal, because Nigerian government has not shown political will to drastically deal decisively with
Okay.
corruption and corrupt people.
Okay, I think we will leave it at that. Your points have been noted. Of course, there's a need for the agencies that fight corruption. There's a need for their budgets to be more than what it is right now. In fact, I had to look through those budgets for this year. The EFCC 43 billion, even though the chairman is saying that they need to raise it to more than that. I also saw, I think the Ministry of Police Affairs over 860 billion for this year. The NSA's office is 65 billion naira, which is lower than the budget it got in 2023, which was around 75 billion naira. But thank you very much for coming. Let's speak again soon, and let's hope that for the next ranking, we will do better. Thank you very much, Mr. Rafsanjani.